and welcome to another episode of Mavens of Manufacturing. I'm really excited because my friend Angela Thurman is joining me again. She was a past guest before. Don't ask me what episode number because I, for the life of me, cannot remember right now. But you can go on YouTube and check out her first interview. And I'm just really excited to have you on, Angela. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Megan. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me back.
Yeah, I know we were had this initially scheduled like a month ago, and then Texas got hit with a
Hurricane
horrible
Beryl.
hurricane, and your whole power went out. It's funny because you get so used to technology working when you need it to work, and then when you don't have it, it just can spike up your stress level. Because last week I was supposed to do another interview, and then our internet went out, so I was just like, what is going on? But Angela, why don't you just remind, and anyone who's tuning in, feel free to drop your comments, a hello, let us know where you're tuning in from. We do want you to engage and be part of this conversation. But Angela, can you just remind our audience who you are and what you do in case they didn't see your last interview?
Okay, great. I'd love to. So my name is Angela Thurman. I'm an electrical engineer and a certified project management professional. I'm also a lean master, and I'm currently working on my Six Sigma black belt. So if you'd like, we can talk about the differences between lean and Six Sigma, because they are not the same. And I live in Houston, and I own a project management consulting firm.
Awesome. And you're also part of WIM, correct? You're part of the
Yes.
Texas chapter out there. So what do you do specifically for WIM?
So I recently stepped down from my leadership roles within the Texas chapter after
Okay.
3 years. I had been the secretary, the treasurer, the membership director, and I just decided that it was time to let others take a leadership role, and I needed to focus on my business. But I am still very much a WIM advocate and supporter, a corporate member, and you know, definitely a big supporter of WIM, particularly the
Yeah.
Texas chapter.
I really wanted to go to their summit this year, but it crossed over with another event that I'm doing. So unfortunately I won't make it this year, but I'm hoping to go again next year because I heard it's going to be in my backyard. So I'm super excited about, I'm super excited about that. We have Danielle McLean. She's tuning in from Houston, where you are at. And then we also have Hank with the Junior Board of Directors. Hello, Hank. Hello, ladies. How are you guys doing? So yeah, let's talk about Six Sigma and Lean for a minute, because I've heard about both throughout my career as an industrial tech writer, and I still can't wrap my head around like some of the differences between the two. So can you like just kind of provide us a quick overview what the differences are and why it was important for you to pursue your black belt for Six Sigma? Because there's different belts, right? There's different.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So break that down for us.
Okay. So they are both continuous improvement focuses or foci. And lean is the elimination of waste. Six Sigma is the elimination of variation in the manufacturing process. So they both can be applied to any business or process. I mean, as a small business owner, I apply them daily, but they are not the same thing. And so when we talk about Lean Six Sigma, then that's like a whole other story. It's like, oh, like that's a lot. But Six Sigma is a quality system that's built on the 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 belt system of martial arts. And so my my mentor is a sensei, like just like in martial arts. And so that's how you progress. So you start as a white belt, and then you become, work your way up to a black belt, and then you can even become a master black belt.
Oh, I see. Now, is this something like specific to project managers? Like if you're a project
Oh
manager,
no,
should they
this
have this
is
kind of credential or is this separate?
it's completely separate, but
Okay.
it because it is continuous improvement, it's
Mhm.
very closely aligned. So as a project manager, particularly as you're working in supplier management,
Okay.
which I do, it's very closely aligned. And so I wanted to pursue these credentials to further enhance and deepen my knowledge and credibility
Right.
as as a project manager with a particular interest in supply chain management.
Gotcha. Well, you sent me some talking points before we got on the call today, and one of the things that you seem to be working with right now is hydrogen fuel aviation, which I just think
Yes,
sounds awesome in its own right. So, how is project I'm gonna assume that there's like your basic things for project managers to follow, right? To be
mhm,
successful. Are there
yes,
any kind of like differences within project management from project to project or even from industry to industry? So, hydrogen fuel aviation, I'm assuming that's part of the green technology
it
area,
is.
correct?
It
So,
is.
how does that differ from any other projects that you've worked on in your past?
So Danielle McLean is joining us today, and
Yeah.
she is a client of mine, and she's also now a friend. I'm very happy to say. And Danielle is the founder and CEO of the High Sky Society, which is a nonprofit organization
Mhm.
whose purpose or charter, if you will, is the um, to to advance hydrogen fueled aviation to
Okay.
the world. And I'm so pleased to work as the program manager for
Mhm.
the High Sky Society because I've learned a lot and it's a lot of fun. I'm meeting incredible people.
Mhm.
But so to answer your question, hydrogen fueled aviation just holds immense promise and potential for the future of travel, especially when we think about reducing our environmental impact for air transportation. Because as you know, currently, all of these um, airplanes, um,
Mhm.
helicopters, all of these vehicles are primarily fueled by
Yeah,
carbon-based fuels, and that's really not good for um, our climate or our economy. So, hydrogen-fueled um, aircraft have zero carbon emissions, and so when hydrogen fuel in the form of fuel cells is used, it produces only water as a byproduct. And so
that's
that
cool.
means zero carbon emissions during flight. And that's really the signature advantage to hydrogen fueled um, aviation. But it also reduces non CO2 emissions, which is
Mhm.
another advantage. So, in addition to this, we've got all of these energy efficiencies that can be captured. And then there's also the weight considerations for the
Oh.
aircraft. So think about a giant airplane that is transporting goods, like
Mhm.
a 747-8 or an A350 that is carrying, a 747-8 will carry up to 1 million or even as much as 1 million pounds of cargo. And that takes a lot of fuel. And the fuel
Yeah.
itself weighs a lot. And when you're using hydrogen fueled or hydrogen as a fuel cells, that greatly reduces the weight for the transportation. And so different types of fuselage
Mm-hmm.
materials can be used and continue to reduce the weight of the aircraft. So that is going to lead, and it does lead to greater energy independence,
Yeah.
which is a fantastic advantage for our economy.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole domino effect. It starts with environmental impact, which is fantastic, but then it has this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this.
Yeah.
And it's just a fantastic way to completely decarbonize aviation as a whole using hydrogen.
That's really cool. Danielle said likewise, Angela, and then she said it's to decarbonize aviation with hydrogen. So Danielle, I'm probably going to reach out to you to see if you want to come on to Mavens, because I have so many questions now about that specific space. And I don't know if you can answer some of them, Angela, but like, is aviation, is there already some existing planes with hydrogen fuel power on them already?
So
Or no?
Danielle is definitely the expert,
Okay.
but I can say that there are vehicles. I'm not going to say airplanes, but I'm going to say vehicles that are hydrogen fueled. Yes. So a lot of the vehicles that I know about right now are drones and or
Okay.
they're small passenger vehicles, so one or two passenger vehicles, and they're not. Danielle just made a comment that they're not
Yeah.
commercially available yet, but the applications, the areas of application for these types of vehicles are tremendous. And I know Danielle will be a fantastic guest because she's an aerospace engineer herself,
Yeah.
also from Oklahoma State University. And the applications just have fantastic possibilities.
I'm definitely interested in that space. So she said Zero Avia is one to look at, also at Robinson partnership with the Unither Bioelectronics. I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to take a
Unither
look.
Bioelectronics.
So I've always when I started out in the industry back in 2008 at a media publication, one of the conversations that came up was hydrogen fueled cars versus
Mhm.
electric powered cars. And I always lean towards the hydrogen fuel cars because I live in the Midwest. So to get from point A to point B, like there's a lot of people in the United States who do a lot of road tripping, and just that kind of extracurricular activity and luxurious traveling that people like to do here in the United States. Some of the electrical car options just don't have enough oomph to get them from
Right.
point A to point B. And then you got the whole conversation around the battery waste that will happen. And lithium ion batteries aren't like the safest out there. You don't want
Well,
to catch them.
and
So there's
mining lithium is not a pretty
no,
thing.
it's not. Right. It's worse. So I mean, electric cars are great to a degree, but I just always thought there was more pros to hydrogen fuel based engines than. So I'm really interested to see how both grow in terms of like future use, because there is a good conversation around both of them. Danielle says, imagine if you could get on a giant drone and go from city to city. I mean, I would love doing that. I just feel like there's some people who are going to be hesitant to do that, but it's a really exciting time, I think, for engineers and manufacturers, and with all the new technologies coming out. So I definitely want to have a deeper conversation with Danielle about this specific topic because it's interesting. It's really going to be an interesting thing. So, Angela, what are some of the things about project management that you love? Because there's a lot of parts to it, and it can be very stressful, and I think it requires a lot of organization as well, and some people aren't the best at it. So like, what do you love about it? Because I know Peyton and Aiden are on watching, and they love watching these types of podcasts because they're learning about the different careers that are in engineering and manufacturing. So keep in mind that they're here listening. Like, what is it that you really love about this position, and what kind of skill set does it require?
So, project management is a fantastic career because everyone uses project management every single day, whether you realize it or not. And so I love to tell people that you're a project manager. You may not be paid for being a project manager, but you are. So project management is essentially keeping everything aligned so that the objectives of your plans are completed successfully on time, on schedule, and with the completion of the requirements. So, for example, planning your birthday party is a project because you've got objectives, you've got a due date, you've got some requirements. You have to determine what those are. So, do you want a pony at your birthday party? What kind of cake do you want at your birthday party? And who's going to be invited to your birthday party? Those are the requirements. And there's a budget because is your budget $10 or is it $1,000? But you can only spend so much money. So those are the essential elements of project management. And making dinner is a is a project, and we're all project managers to make dinner, at least 3 times a week. So everyone comes to the table with a certain set of skills, and you apply those skills to whatever the project is. Now, personally, I believe that project or program management is industry agnostic, and not everyone will agree with me on that. But I believe that I bring my toolbox of project management skills to the table, and I apply those to the project, regardless of what industry it is. And that's why I can work with customers like Danielle or Dr. Lisa Palmer, who is a globally recognized AI strategist and thought leader, or a manufacturer. And it doesn't matter whether that customer wants me to use traditional waterfall project management methodology, or they want me to use one of the agile methodologies like Scrum or Kanban or extreme project management. It doesn't matter. I've got these skills and I can apply those to whatever the customer's project is.
Do you necessarily need, so if you want to be a project manager within engineering and in manufacturing, do you necessarily need that engineering background? Because I get as a technical writer, I get asked this a lot. Like, oh, are you a manufacturer? Are you an engineer? And I'm like, no, I'm a trained tech writer. Like, I was good at writing. And then I took courses that were surrounding like technology specifically. And that's like how I got my skill set within. So it kind of blows people's mind away when I'm like, I'm not an engineer by trade at all.
Right.
am horrible with math and numbers, so don't send me don't ask me to calculate the tip after eating dinner, because it's going to be my calculator that does it, not me. So do you have to necessarily need that engineering background to be a successful project manager in
Absolutely
engineering?
not. Absolutely not. So there are project managers within all sorts of fields. So you can
Mm-hmm.
be a project manager whose area of specialization is social media, or you can be a project manager whose area of specialization is marketing, um, or finance, or product development, which has very little to do with engineering. I mean, this is more the what does the customer want sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, it was a really good fit um, because I want the more technical. I am an engineer, so I want the more technical requirements.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Danielle made a comment about nobody is horrible at math. They just had the right teacher, and I can show you a trick to calculate percent in your head. Very simple.
Yeah.
Um,
So I can tell you a quick tip too, Megan. Just take that before the tax is added, take that subtotal, divide by 6. That's pretty much about 15%.
okay, I would probably still. I had wonderful teachers. I just think my brain just likes words better because I
Mhm.
always excelled at words. So it's just a
Yeah.
different. My sister Melissa is very good at math. She actually teaches it, which I think is a gift in her own, and she teaches kids that come from like really bad places. So to get them to even listen and care about numbers, I think is awesome. Um, so if there's people interested in project management and they were to have like the best toolbox to be like one of the greatest project managers, what would it be like your top 3 tools for them to include in their toolbox to be
Um,
successful?
Organization. Number
Okay.
one, organization, because there are a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
Um, Curiosity, which
Okay.
sounds odd, but you always have to have like a what if, because risk assessment is huge in project management. And if you don't have that, well, what if this happens? What if there's a tornado in Oklahoma and my supplier has their factory blown to Kansas? What could happen? What could happen? If you don't have that kind of mentality, it
Yeah.
could affect your effectiveness. And then number three is I'm just going to lump people skills, which
Oh.
if you are one of those traditional engineering type program managers, which like me,
Mhm.
that's one that has to be practiced.
Mhm. There's a lot of engineers that are very shy. I've noticed,
Yes,
or like reserved and not they don't really like being sociable unless they're teaching. Then it's like a different switch for them if you ask them the right questions and get them in teacher mode. um
yes.
you can't get them to stop talking, which I think is fun. I do want to switch the conversation a little bit here. So you've, since we've last talked, you have just been really, really busy. You seem more active on LinkedIn. You've gotten involved with a lot of different conversations and projects. And you sent me a list of some of your most recent speaking engagements. And a lot of them, M&I University is the one with Katie, right? That
Yes,
one. Okay, so you're talking about statistics for manufacturing, and then you had the role of emotional intelligence for project managers, which that really connected with me because that's been a topic of conversation, especially when it comes to attracting and retaining more women in
yes,
engineering and manufacturing, which you know is like my passion to get more younger women involved, especially in fields like engineering, because,
Mhm.
you know, one of the statistics I heard last year at an event was they're not necessarily leaving engineering, but they also aren't entering engineering. So women are kind of stagnant. And then I recently read a stat where globally we're only representing like 13% of engineers on a global
It's
level, which
horrible.
is
It's the news is
crazy.
horrible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know, what were some of the key takeaways from that conversation? The role of emotional intelligence for project managers. Can you give us
Mhm.
the summary of those?
Sure. So, emotional intelligence means being able to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, but also being able to influence the emotions of others. And I don't mean that in a manipulative way. Um, and this means being um, able to show empathy, to effectively communicate, to motivate your team, to better manage stress, both for yourself and for your team, to be able to improve conflict management, which is, I mean, that's just a tremendous ability in
Yeah.
a project. To enhance decision making, which is very important when you're managing a project. You want your team to make really good decisions,
Mhm.
to be able to foster trust and credibility, not only with your team, for you as the leader of the project, but also for you as a project manager within your company. Because once that project ends, you need another project. You want to be able to build trust and credibility so that you get those really good assignments. You want the cool projects. And then finally, building resilience. So how I view the importance of creating emotional intelligence
Mhm.
for project managers or building that.
Yeah, I think it's important to because I've had a lot of conversations with some executives where they were like, you know, we promoted this woman for this position because she was really good at her job, but then within 2 weeks she quit. And I was like, what do you mean she quit? And they were like, well, we don't know what we were doing. Like, did we do something wrong? Because they were really like qualified for this position. And I was like, well, were you checking in with her? Like, were you following up with her? Did she have concerns and voice those concerns? Like, I think because it's been such a way for so long, like people get comfortable and they just make assumptions that, oh, if you aren't voicing something, then that might not mean something is wrong. And as women in the industry, I think we've been programmed in a way where, like, if we do speak up, we might think it means that we don't know what we're doing. So then we just
Mhm.
choose quiet over voicing our opinions. And then, oh, I'm not qualified for this. So then imposter syndrome becomes a real thing. So
Yes.
I think these conversations are really good for both women and men to join in because it just helps
Mhm.
them improve their communication skills and asking the right questions and making sure they follow up with their team so that they know that they're still comfortable doing the task that they were assigned to do. Because sometimes they might not know how to ask for help.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
do you see that a lot with some of the teams that you work with? Like, how do you resolve those types of insecurities within a team that might exist?
I think that acknowledging and reflecting
Hmm.
is really important. So if a a team member, whether they're on your project team or they're you know a colleague of an equal level,
Yeah.
they're raising some kind of concerns. Mirroring is really important. So saying, I hear
Gotcha.
you. I'm acknowledging that this is a concern.
Mm.
What can I do to help? Let's discuss this. Let's brainstorm solutions. Those kinds of comments that just acknowledge their concerns, their feelings, and so forth is very important. And
Mhm.
it makes them understand that you do hear them, and it is real, and that they are deserving of of um, of your attention,
Mhm.
and that they're not alone, because many times, especially for women, we feel isolated, and that we're the only ones that have these issues. And again, like you said, that imposter syndrome begins to set in. We feel we have no place to turn. And
Mhm.
and I think that as women, we need to support other women who are in those positions of
Yeah.
isolation and um, imposter syndrome, and just really just supporting one another and giving those opportunities to let them raise genuine concerns.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue too in the other conversation that you sent me where it's called thinking in hard, building
Yeah.
resilience when facing difficult tasks. And it's Women's Confidence and Resilience Summit, which I didn't know they had a summit around that, which I'm totally bummed that I missed it because that just sounds really, really interesting. So, what were some of your key takeaways from that conversation? And, what sort of advice did they? Because I remember when I first started out in this industry, I went to a trade show and my boss at the time was like, look, just remember you're a professional, don't take offense to anything, and just always be professional. I'm like, what is he setting me up for? Like, why on earth are we starting this? And I had no, like, I literally thought I felt like a piece of meat in like a beef shop or whatever you want to call it. Like, I felt like I was just getting gawked at. I got grabbed a couple times. I had pretty nasty, and I'm like, oh, this is what he was talking about. Okay. And I just remember like going through the industry, and the excuse was always like, hey, this is how it's always been done. You just need thick skin and kind of shut it off your shoulders, like shrug it off your shoulders and whatever. And as I've grown in my industry, I'm just like, no, that's ridiculous. Like, it shouldn't be like this. And if a guy or anyone for that matter disrespects me, I should be able to stand up for myself in a professional way and tell them, no, that's not right. So, like, how have you seen things change since you've been in the industry? And what are some of because I just feel like there's still those moments where it's just like, you got to have thick skin in this industry if you want. And it's like, no, you don't have to if you don't want. Like, if you're not that type of person, you can still be successful in this industry. We just have to teach other people to not be jerks and like be respectable. So, like, let's have that conversation.
So in the early 90s, I worked for a company that manufactured germanium and silicon um, for night vision windows for,
Mhm.
you know, the Apache helicopter and the Bradley tank and so forth, and many, many other applications. But those were two of our big,
Yeah.
customers. And every spring, there was a huge conference in Orlando for the the Department of the DoD, Department of Defense, and everybody would be showcasing what they sold and their latest and greatest. And I was one of very, very few women, because this is
Mhm.
Department of Defense, and colonels and majors, and everybody
Yeah.
would be walking around. And most of the other women at the show were wearing bikinis. and because they
Oh,
were
yeah.
trade show girls.
Yeah.
And here I am, an engineer, trying to talk about the electro-optical properties of germanium and silicon.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I could definitely talk to the 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 feeling of being gawked and grabbed and you know
I
oh
don't experience as
there
much
there
as
was
anyone.
there was an engineer from TI
Yeah.
that would call me probably once a month. And keep in mind, I was in Oklahoma, and he would call, and he was in Dallas. He was a TI. He would call me probably once a month and ask me to come to Dallas for the weekend so we could talk about
Yeah.
sales, sales
No.
to TI.
Now you
And
can just Zoom.
no, that wasn't what he wanted.
I know. I'm
He
just
wanted,
saying, but now, like,
yeah.
you can be like, just Zoom call me. We can do that.
But the fact that 35 years later, I still remember his name, he,
Yeah.
I mean, that marked my soul.
Yeah.
Anyway, but back to your question about building resilience while facing difficult
I know
tasks.
it's like
So
conferences
this,
can be rough. Hold on. And then she said, that's literally the reason I became an entrepreneur so I could stick up for myself. Me too, Danielle. I'm in the same boat.
yes, me too. So this conference is actually coming up in September, and it's being organized
Okay.
by Stacy Brookman, and I'd be happy to share information about that with anyone that would like information.
Hmm.
Just reach out to me, or um, I can, I guess, I can share with you, Megan, information about the conference, and you can
Yeah, I would love to
navigate
know
it.
more about it because
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, I think it's a really good topic and
Hmm.
everybody's gonna, and it's not just, and I want to be fair to everybody tuning in. It's not just women that experience this. It's totally not. I've seen it on the opposite side too, but because um it was so predominantly male for such a long time, this was more common amongst women, and just being told you have to have thick skin to deal with it, I just don't think that was the appropriate response. And so if we can have these types of conversations on um, productive ways where women can handle those situations without showing too much of their emotion, right? Because if we get too emotional, then that affects our credibility and our
Yeah,
expertise.
that
And
backfires on us.
yeah, and that was one of the things that I had a life coach at the beginning of the year, and she was like, "You're edgy." And she's like, "I don't want you to lose your edge," but she's like, "There is a polite way to tell people to F off." And I was like, "That is the best advice someone has ever given me." So yeah, if you can go into like what were some of like the main pieces of advice for women to kind of build up their resilience. I'm sure there's some listening now that would appreciate that.
So my topic is about so thinking is hard, and how do we build resilience when we're faced with difficult tasks.
Mhm.
And my topic is based on the work of Nobel laureate,
Okay.
economist and psychologist, Dr. Daniel Kahneman. And Dr. Kahneman's work is focused on his, I'll just call it his work, his belief, his, I don't know how else to state that, that our brains are organized or split, whatever, into
Mhm.
two different systems. And so system one is intuitive, automatic, um, um, and and it's also sometimes um, prone to errors. And then system two is that side of your brain that you use when your thinking is faced with problem solving. Um, it's very deliberate and slow. So you've got fast and slow thinking. And so at the end of the day, we need to have a balance of both fast and slow thinking, and that there are methods that we can use, there are tools that we can use to embrace both sides of our brain so that we become a whole person.
What are some of those methods?
Okay, so one thing that you can do is to recognize that we have biases.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, oh yeah. And we also, um, our system one can be very easily lulled into laziness.
Oh,
And so if system one recognizes a pattern, it just begins to think, okay, from now until eternity, when I see this pattern, this is what I'm going to do. And it becomes automatic and you don't even think about it.
mhm.
Um, Another thing with system two, this is a very simple thing, but if you frown when you're problem solving, you will engage system two, and it will help you focus on the problem at hand. So, if you have a math problem to solve, put a pen or pencil in your mouth, and it will engage your deliberate thoughts, problem solving side of your brain to help keep you focused on the math problem, or in your case, say you're trying to be very focused on the details of a story you're trying to write.
Yeah.
That's a very simple tool that you can use to keep system two engaged.
I'm gonna try that out. That's so interesting. And then that just makes me think of like people that I've seen out in public that are working on something. I just assume that they're angry about something, but I don't know if they're like intentionally frowning or if it was just natural reaction of like what they were doing. That's hilarious to me.
It's not because they're angry or anything like that. It's a natural. Um, I don't know what else to say. It's just your brain will begin to. I mean, make your face do that. It's
That's
another thing
interesting.
that when you want to engage system one, you smile.
Yeah.
So if you smile and you want to have more of those quick responses, try smiling.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, Danielle said, "Okay, now I don't feel bad for looking mad when I'm problem solving. When I'm doing deep thinking, my family always thinks I'm mad at them." Or when people, what is that acronym? RBF, resting B face.
Yes.
No, I'm just thinking. I'm not mad. Like that's hilarious to me. That's interesting. Well, Angela, what else have you got going on aside with working with really cool companies that are doing hydrogen fueled aviation? What other things are you working on and
Well,
focusing on?
one thing that I'm very proud of right now is that I am acting as a mentor um,
Yes.
for the Scale for Climate Tech cohort 5. And Scale for Climate Tech is funded by NYSERDA, which is the
Okay.
New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. And so every year, Scale for Climate Tech, which, by the way, I got this opportunity through a whim connection. So
That's
win,
awesome.
win, win.
Yeah.
Um, so Scale for Climate Tech selects from a large group of applicants. They select this year. It's 18
Okay.
green technology startups, and they connect them with subject matter experts
Mhm.
um, and they're they're obviously in New England,
Okay.
primarily New York. And I've had the opportunity to just meet these incredible manufacturers in the green technology area. And so this year, this is my first year, and I'm supporting those startup manufacturers in this incubator environment with, pardon me, project management, supply chain management, and quality management advice.
That's really cool.
It
So
is. It's
how
fantastic.
many are you working with all of the startups or just like a specific one?
So I provided a couple of workshops to the entire cohort, and um, then I elected to work with 3 specific companies for further one-to-one
That's very
advice.
cool.
Mhm.
That's very cool. I love startups because they are like the most passionate group of people because they believe in their product so much. So I really love learning and working with startup companies because it's kind of like, and here I am with sports analogies when I don't like sports very much, but it's kind of like college football teams. College football teams play a lot better than pro football teams because they're just so passionate about the game and they're still having fun. So I like relate startups to them. Um, I would really like to maybe talk to you offline about how you were creating some of these workshops because I wanted to do something similar with tech writing. Um, and for whatever reason, my brain is just not kicking in on how to do that. Oh, we got Gail on. Hold on a second. Gail's here. Hello to amazing women. Hi, Gail. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you are doing well, and I hope I get to run into an IMTS and then tagging Elizabeth Elias Hernandez and her YQ Green organization in Windsor, Essex, City of Windsor, the County of Essex. I want to meet her too. Um, Angela, we covered a lot, and I'm just really grateful for the information that you shared. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Like, was there a question you were hoping I was going to ask and I didn't ask that question?
Um, the last thing that I would like to share, I guess, is that I am working on my Six Sigma black belt, and particularly with the Scale for Climate Tech group. Um, I hope to be working on my capstone black belt project with one of them,
Ooh,
and yeah, so that's really exciting. And but if anyone is interested in, if I haven't finished my project, and someone is interested in working with me for free for a black belt project, I am still taking applications for that. The,
okay.
o- the only requirement, it doesn't have to be in manufacturing, is that we would identify a project that would use the DMAIC process. And DMAIC stands for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control.
Okay.
And so we would work together to define a project where you've got something that needs improvement,
Mm-hmm.
and it could take a few weeks or a few months. And again, I'd be happy to work with you on that for free.
Now, is this someone who is also working on their black belt?
No,
Or is
I'm
it-
offering my quality
Oh,
improvement process
gosh.
services for free to someone who has a quality issue they would like to resolve.
That's interesting. So I have a quick question because we were talking about how like there's different belts for Six Sigma. How
Yes.
long has it taken you to get to this level? And when do you expect to be completely done with your
With my black belt. I want
Yeah.
to be finished by the end of the year.
Okay.
And we could look at my black belt or my belt journey,
Mhm.
starting way back from way back when I started
Okay.
my manufacturing journey. I
Mm.
mean, because I've always been interested in quality,
Yeah.
but documenting actually started when I was working for Collins Aerospace. Um,
Okay.
I worked with my sensei, Brian Hurley, at Collins, and that's where I earned my Lean Master certification. And
Gotcha.
so, but
I
my PMP, my Lean Master, all of the knowledge that I acquired with those certifications helps to contribute toward my
yeah,
Six Sigma certifications.
that's really cool. I was thinking about doing that with Six Sigma just so I could write about it more
Yeah.
appropriately. But I don't know where I would fit it in right now. So I was
Well,
like
I would
trying not
encourage
to
you.
get a
Yeah, I would encourage you to check out the LinkedIn learning courses
okay.
on Six Sigma because
Yeah.
they're really fantastic, and then that way you can get the uh, like the the training,
Okay.
at your own pace.
Yeah. I'll have to take a look in that. And I love the LinkedIn learning stuff. There's a lot of good information on there. I've been digging it probably too much more than the other stuff I should be doing, but I just like learning. So anytime I get new content to learn about something, I kind of fall into a rabbit hole and forget that I have other stuff to work on. So I've recently I've been ignoring it because I have projects due. So I'm like, I can't watch these videos. Angela, I do want to give you an opportunity to ask our audience a question. So if you had one big ask for our audience, what would your ask be?
Are you asking me?
Yep.
Oh,
What's your
I'm
big
sorry.
ask for the
One thing
audience?
I would just ask that the people check out my blog. I do write a weekly blog, um, and it's posted on my website. I also post it to LinkedIn every week as well.
Mhm.
And if they have any recommendations for a topic they would like me to explore, within the scope of my area of expertise, of course,
Okay.
um, I would be more than happy to do that.
You're also doing a new series,
Yeah,
the
Tech
Women
Talk
Wednesdays.
Tuesday.
Did
Oh,
you want to share that?
yes, thank you. So I do a short form video on Tuesdays that is a tech hack, and I posted on LinkedIn as Tech Talk Tuesday. But then I also did recently revive my Wednesday LinkedIn series, and
Mhm.
it's Women to Watch Wednesdays. And Megan, you will be featured on September 4th when Danielle and I will be in Las Vegas for the Flying High Conference.
See, that
Um,
sounds like a really cool conference too. I need to start looking for a list of where all these conferences are
oh,
because I've never done that one before.
I have a list for that.
You got
I
to
have a
share
site
that.
for that.
Yeah, please share that with me because I've never heard of the Flying High conference before, and it just sounds really cool. And it's in Vegas, and
It's in Vegas.
I have to take my daughter to Vegas because I lost a bet with her, so I have to pay for her whole trip. But I told her we would have to do it after her 21st birthday because her birthday's in December, and I'm not trying to go to Vegas in December, so
No. Well,
we got to wait for that.
Danielle will be teaching a course on hydrogen aviation on Tuesday, and
Okay.
then we have a conference. Wednesday and Thursday with 30 different industry experts.
That sounds really interesting.
It's going to be
Okay, so
amazing.
Danielle, I'm going to reach out to you after this episode and see if you want to be on Mavens, because I have so many questions for you. And then she just included, Gail said Angela has many lists and resources. Danielle wanted me to come to Vegas. I don't think I can, because when is it again?
It's the week of Labor Day. So Labor Day is on Monday. The conference is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
I can't do that because that's the first week of my kids' school. So I have to be a mom for that week. A passion for learning is a blessing and curse sometimes. Absolutely. And then Megan, you will meet really great people. I really wish I could come. I got to do mom duties that week because it's the very first week of school, and my kids will freak out. All right. Less than 2 weeks. And then right after that is IMTS. So I'm going to be gone that whole week. So me being gone 2 weeks would just not be a good situation for them. Well, Angela, I really appreciate spending some more time with you. I don't think we've met in person ever.
We tried once, but something happened. But I'm
Came
sure
up.
that
We gotta make this happen one of these days. Are you gonna? You're not gonna be on IMTS, right? You're not going to that show.
I am not.
I'm gonna have
I think that after flying high, I'm gonna need some rest.
But no, I don't blame you. Trade shows can be a lot. Okay. Well, we're going to make this happen, but I really appreciate you coming on again and following us up with your journey. It's really interesting to just see how people have grown. And I remember when we first started chatting, you just started your own business, and it is doing well, and that's awesome. So congratulations to you for that. And then if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you or contact you with any questions?
Angela at thurmanco.com.
Okay, and that's CO for anyone that gets confused like I do with pronunciations. Well, thank you so much, Angela, to Gail, to Danielle for commenting and joining in on the conversation. Thank you for anyone else tuning in. Peyton, Aiden, Hank, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope everyone has a wonderful and safe weekend. I'm going to pull up a sponsor from my merch guy that does all the Maven shirts. So if you are looking for personal branding on any of your merchandise, please reach out to Fresh Horizons. They are amazing, and you can catch more information right now with this video. Take care, everyone. Thank you. This episode of Mavens has been sponsored by Fresh Horizons Group. Fresh Horizons Group is a family-run company that was founded on the premise of helping organizations and businesses better tell their story through high-quality branded apparel and promotional items. Freshen up your brand by contacting Fresh Horizons today at freshhorizonsgroup.com.